Good evening, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for this special Meet the Candidate Night. My name is CJ Weiss. I'm one of the board directors for the Chamber and independent consultant for Arbonne. I'd like to take a moment to recognize our community and state leaders. If you are in the audience and you're a member of the school board, township trustee, a nonprofit, or local board member or member of the Chamber, please raise your hand so we can recognize you and thank you for your commitment to the community. Thank you. Please also join me in thanking Sergeant Travis Strawn with the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office, who is joining us tonight. It is an honor for the Chamber to provide this event for the community every couple of years. As a business, personally, that grows primarily on in-person and networking events, Chamber referrals and Chamber events such as the Referral Roundtables, Home Sweet Home Show, and our Canal Wellness Fest have been instrumental in growing my personal business and growing my visibility within the community. To prepare for tonight, we asked our members of our community to supply questions that are important to them, and then we worked to compile those questions for you tonight. We will only ask the prepared questions. If you have a specific question that is not answered tonight, feel free to stick around for the networking session afterwards where you can meet the candidates directly. Now, it is my privilege to introduce Elizabeth Wood, the Executive Director for Canal Winchester Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, CJ. I'm honored to be here tonight and serving as the new Executive Director for the Canal Winchester Chamber. I'd like to recognize our presenting sponsor for this evening, the Canal Wigwam. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Terry, for your generous support of this community event. And if you haven't been, I invite you to visit this member business. It's such a welcoming spot for breakfast or for lunch. And thank you also to our drink sponsors, MG Abbott Electric and Heiberger Paving. And we really appreciate your support. Thank you also to Brewdog, who provided tonight's space, a large space where we can have The Canal Winchester Chamber's mission is to connect businesses with the tools and opportunities they need to thrive, and to help our entire community grow stronger together. The Chamber advocates for and promotes a prosperous business community by providing networking opportunities, as well as business resources and professional development. The partnerships we've built in our community have led to continued growth in 2025. So far this year, we've welcomed 30 new members, with a total of more than 210 members. We've also celebrated 8 new business ribbon cuttings and grand openings, each one being a sign of Canal Winchester's growing momentum. The intention of tonight's event is to help you feel informed and confident as you head to the polls in the coming weeks. Thank you to our candidates, our neighbors, who are willing to step up and serve our community in this important way. We appreciate your time, your perspectives, and your commitment to being part of this process. And with that, I'll turn it over to CJ, who will walk us through this evening's agenda and also introduce our candidates.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. So, once again, we have asked our members and community to supply questions that are important to them. We've received several similar questions, so we grouped those together, compiled them for you tonight. Each candidate will answer each question and have 2 minutes to do so. There will not be opportunities for rebuttal, as we need to keep the night moving. So I'm going to introduce the candidates. Lori Amick, Hannah Detweiler, Shane Finkel, James Holter, Chuck Milligan, David Payne, and Patrick Shea. Now, Elizabeth, with her yoga teachings, will be a little bit more gentle if we go over on the 2-minute timing. I failed to mention that I'm a personal trainer and fitness coach. So I have my own stopwatch, and if we do go over, I will assess you 1 push-up each. All right, so once again, candidates are going to have 2 minutes. I'm going to ask everyone to introduce themselves and share your contributions to the community, your state, your country, what inspired you to run, and why do you want this role? So let's go ahead and start on the far end, and we'll work this way down for this question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chuck Milliken, and I first off want to thank everybody for showing up here, taking time every day to get to know all of us. I want to thank Brewdog, the other candidates, and Wigwam for sponsoring. I'm going to need a refresher on those 3 questions already.
Let's go for it. So we're going your contributions to the country.
So obviously, you probably all heard of me before. I ran for city council a few years ago. I served a term previously. I was liaison for Human Services, Destination Canal Winchester. I most recently served on the Charter Review Committee. I want to run because I've been just ingrained from my childhood with a passion for civics. I remember my high school government teacher was phenomenal. That was kind of a spark. And then my mother, who also served on city council, who's in with us in attendance this evening. And I just want to pass that passion along to my kids and just take care of the community in a sense that I take care of them. I just want to give back, and that's really my drive. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me okay? I've never been told you can't hear me, so. Welcome tonight. Thank you all for giving up your evening to come out and be with us this evening. Hopefully you'll walk away with a little bit more information about who we are. Like Chuck, I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting this event tonight. It does take time and effort to put this together. I'd also like to thank everybody that supported me with a yard sign or whatever you did to help me. Thank you very much. I have a special thank you tonight to my husband, Craig. And my beautiful daughter, Haley. Thank you guys for coming. Yes, I am keeping Haley from attending a concert, so when she bolts out of here, you'll know where she's going. So I also, if we run out of time, I just want to also say best wishes to all of my fellow candidates this evening. So my contributions, I am a current member, a sitting member of our Canal Winchester City Council. I was elected by my peers to serve as your vice president. I have been assigned and voted into the position of secretary for the Canal Winchester Industry and Commerce Corporation. I served on the somebody's going to get lipstick on. I served on the Canal Winchester Community Plan Steering Committee. I serve as the vice chair for Canal Winchester Human Services Board of Trustees. I also volunteer there. I see many of my fellow volunteers in the audience this evening. I volunteer for Canal Winchester traditions, such as the Labor Day Festival, the Historical Society, and I would get in a lot of trouble if I didn't promote the Ghost Walk coming up Friday and Saturday. Jill would not let me forget that. In my previous world outside of Canal Winchester, I served as a captain of a large fundraising...
Gentle reminder.
Thank you. All right. I served as captain for a large fundraising activity, and I did that during COVID. So I have lots of other contributions. If you want to know, catch me afterwards. Thank you.
One push-up assessed.
I'll be happy to do Lori's push-up.
Oh, bless you.
Wait, that shouldn't count against my time. So first, thank you to the Chamber for setting this up. Even though Elizabeth rejected my proposal that we all lie around before we have drinks. I also want to thank Lori, or Terry, the Wigwam, for sponsoring this, even though she told me she's going to vote for Pat Shea. Thanks to the other candidates for being here, and thank you to all the voters out there who showed up. So my wife, Susie, she's lived in Canal for about 25 years. and moved with her to the Westchester subdivision in 2021. It was a good move. We value Canal's security, heritage, and sense of community here, and that informs the groups that we support, whether it's the Historical Society, Human Services, and of course, Destination Canal, where I think Karen and Sue have done a great job. So when Jill Amos said she wasn't running, I decided to get involved. Not because I disapprove of Lori and Pat and the job they're doing. I think the council is doing a really good job right now. But to be honest, I didn't know who would come out of the woodwork. No offense. So I felt an obligation to run. So a little about me, I do have some more background about me up on jamespoulter.com/vote, so you can check that out. But in my day job, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the American Motorcyclists Association. I'm a fiduciary there as well. The AMA is a centuries-old organization based in everything. We're sporting, advocacy, cultural preservation. We have responsibilities on the national, continental, and world level, involved with staff, budgets, events, boards, you name it. And I'm asking you guys to let me do work for you.
Well, good evening. I'm Shane Finkel. I too want to thank you for being here. It's so exciting to be pursuing a seat on the council, knowing that so many people care about their community. Also, thank you to the chamber for putting this on. Canal Wigwam just ate breakfast there with my son a couple weeks ago, so that's always good food. I was born and raised in Kansas, small town of about 500 people, 33 in my graduation class. So I do love small towns, and that is really what drove my family to move here in 2005. We've raised all 3 children here, with the last one just graduating this last May, and she is now off to Hungary for university. And so I felt like this would be a great time for me to give back to the community. I've always had a servant's heart, and serving in a variety of capacities. Here in Canal, I've served for a few years with Jill at Boy Scouts. I've served at Canal Winchester High School Tennis Booster Club when my daughter was playing there. I've been a deacon for 2 terms at Grace Bible Church. I also coached and refereed upward basketball for many years, helping these young kids learn the skill sets that they needed to play that game. As far as what I've done for the state or the country, in my role that I had at Napa Auto Parts corporate offices for over 25 years, I did a lot of time in mergers and acquisitions and business consulting. And so I spent a lot of time helping entrepreneurs grow, get into the business, and I think it's always good for business to grow, and helping the entrepreneurs get into that with that first step. So it's been a real joy to see them succeed. And as far as what drove me, I too saw that there were going to be 4 open positions, and I just wanted to ensure that we continue the trajectory that the city's been on. I think they've been doing a great job. Again, also not knowing who would be running, I wanted to be a part of that to make sure that we continue the great path that they've been on. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me? Okay. So hi, my name is Hannah Detweiler. I'm really excited to be running for Canal Winchester City Council. First of all, thank you to Brewdog, the Chamber, and the Wigwam for putting on this event. I know it's a lot of work, so I'm really thankful for them to give us this opportunity. Also, thank you for all of you. I know some of you are probably Steelers or Bengals fans, and I know you might miss the kickoff of the game with the 2 youngest quarterbacks in the league. So I appreciate you being here. My current day job, I am the Community Outreach Director for the Franklin County Recorder's Office. I also am a volunteer leader for a group of policy advocates with the Blood Cancer United, formerly the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society group. With that role, we talk to state and federal lawmakers about legislation that helps cancer patients and their families. Around Canal Winchester, you may have seen me at the David's Evangelical Lutheran polling location, where I work on election days helping with the polls. I also have been involved with the Labor Day Parade. And what inspired me to run was what happened in November, just seeing that there were lots of young people thinking about running, and I wanted to join that group. I think that right now we need leaders who lead with integrity and compassion for their communities, and so I want to run to support Canal Winchester, to support its residents, to support our working families. I want to bring a fresh perspective to Canal Winchester City Council and a new generation of leadership, and I think I can use my public service experience to help focus my time here on council. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm David Payne. I'd like to thank the Chamber, the Wigwam, and Brewdog for allowing us to be here today, and thank you all for coming here this evening. I would also like to wish my wife a happy birthday, and she's enjoying it here with us tonight, so happy birthday to you. My wife and I moved to Canal Winchester about 5 years ago with our 2 children. My son is 9 and my daughter is 7. I'm a member of X Church, a member of the baptism team there. How's this? All right, I'm a member of X Church, the baptism team, the auditorium team. I'm also in a small group there. I'm also a member of VFW Post 10523. With them, we've participated in the Labor Day Festival, Memorial Day Parade, Veterans Day Parade. We've had the opportunity to go to Winchester Trail and the Canal Winchester Middle School to speak to students about our experiences in the military. Currently, I have a career in manufacturing and I'm an operations manager. And before that, I was in the U.S. Army with the 82nd Airborne Division. What inspired me to run, I want to make sure that all residents' voices are heard. Those who are elected to City Council are the extended voices of the folks who elected them. I think another big reason, also I have 2 small kids who are grown up in this community. I want to see that it remains safe and prosperous for them and their future. And I want this role, public service has been a huge part of my life. I want to continue that service here at home, working for the residents of Canal Winchester. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Patrick Shea. I'm presently serving on Canal Winchester City Council. Prior to council, I had lived in Canal Winchester since 2003. I've raised both of my daughters here. My youngest daughter is a sophomore presently, my oldest graduated last year. In terms of commitments and contributions to the community, I mean, we can go back to coaching JRD soccer when the kids were little. I'll never forget coaching 4-year-olds because that is like herding cats when you're trying to coach soccer. In addition to that, I've taught Sunday school at my church. I've also worked with the Historical Society. I've helped with Destination on the Friday before Labor Day. Thanks for letting me do that, Sue. And then I've also worked with the food pantry, especially for adopted family. That's one of my favorite events of the year. Canal Winchester is my home. Frankly, when I got out of college, I never thought I would stay in Ohio. I wanted to get as far away from here as possible. And then I moved to Canal Winchester. And over time, I fell in love with it. And we have one of the most special places I've ever lived. I've traveled all over the country, and the people that we have that live in our town care about our town. They want to see what's best for our town, but they also come out and volunteer and support our town. And I see a lot of people here tonight who I've seen supporting and volunteering at events over the years. The reason I'm running again is that we have more work to do. There is a lot of change coming to our area. Over the next 5 to 10 years, the impact from Andrew coming to our town, like 5 miles away from this town, I don't think we can begin to fathom how much growth and change is coming to this part of Franklin County, Fairfield County, and Pickaway County. And in addition to that, I want to make sure that we continue on the trajectory we are with police services to keep our town safe. Because when I moved here, this was a small town and it was a safe town. And it's now a city, it's not a village anymore, but in addition to that, it's still one of the safest places to live in Fairfield County, or Franklin County, forgive me. Thank you.
We appreciate you honoring your roles tonight. Pass the microphone down to the second candidate. I think it's Ms. Ingram. So each candidate will have a chance to answer a question first. This next one is questions 2 and 3. It's a long one. First part. First part, Canal Winchester is experiencing tremendous growth pressure, both commercially and for the housing shortage. But many of you are stating support for small town focus, which can be seen as both a negative and a positive. This is a 2-part question, so you'll have 3 minutes to answer. First, are you ready? It's long. All right, first, what kind of development do you feel is appropriate for Canal Winchester? How will you guide new growth so it supports our economy and provides services for residents and businesses of varied backgrounds, but still keep the small town feel of our community? Second part, in addition, certain developments and projects may cause division within the community, and how would you handle that?
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that question. First of all, I live here because I like living in the small town. I like the small town feel. But economic development is crucial to our city's well-being. And in my mind, they can cohabitate. You don't have one or the other. I believe that you can have both. Without the economic development, Canal Winchester may not be that much of a desirable place to live, and nobody wants that. The revenue that is generated from the projects that we encounter in economic development, they help support our school system. They help support our utilities. Everybody likes clean drinking water and good sewer systems. Don't put your Pampers in the sewer, please. We like good roads. We don't like potholes. We like excellent roads to drive on and that look nice in our city. Everybody loves our park system. Our park system is clean, well cared for, and safe for the residents. If we didn't have the economic development projects that we've been involved in, where do you think that cost is going to come from? It's either going to come from us as taxpayers, or it could possibly come from diminished services, and no one wants that either. Guiding new growth needs to be deliberate and it needs to be thoughtful, meaning that when we are in negotiations with a particular business or company that wants to do business in Canal Winchester, we need to ensure that we get the best deal that we can get. And again, going back to the schools and the roads and all that stuff, we need to make sure that we get the best arrangement for that deal that we can get. I have spent countless hours in the 4 years that I've been on council negotiating and meeting with people to talk about how we can improve, how can we make this deal better. I just want to say we've been pretty successful in always getting the person bringing that to our forefront to make changes. I want to hit the division question before I run out of time. So I dislike division of any kind. I dislike it in this world. But the reality is it exists, right? And I know that we are not going to always agree on every topic. And I want you to know that if we're going to ever solve this, we have to communicate. Whether it's one-on-one, whether it's coming to a council connect meeting, whether it's attending public meetings, whatever the case might be. My husband and I, we were a divided household over not just football, but we were a divided household over a recent development. And I got him to come to a public meeting and to see how much work had gone into the different iterations to make that project great. So, thank you very much.
Thanks. So I know small town can feel a little cliche, right? You know, we've all been saying that we want to protect the small town feel of Canal. But it's actually one of the 4 core values in the 2023 community plan. That makes it much more than a sound bite. Citizens have told us that it's fundamental to what they think this community is. So when we're thinking of small town charm and how we're going to protect small town charm, I think we should start with looking at that plan, which a great deal of work went into that, and I applaud members of council here, everyone who worked on that. And I think we can extrapolate from that plan a little bit on what that means. So I believe government serves its current citizens, not its potential future citizens. And if you look at that a survey that was in there, which was pretty comprehensive, where citizens ranked what they felt were the priorities. First, of course, was safety, and that's obviously very important. And there was economic health, city services, and heritage. So I think those are what we should look at when we develop policy. So I think that means the community wants a safe community, and wants strong local businesses, and wants a responsive government, and wants us to support programs that preserve and support the history of Canal Winchester. So I think we need to keep all of these things in mind when we're exploring policy, grants, revolving loans, new community authorities. Everything we're going to be doing needs to keep that in mind. So as for the vision part of this question, I guess I would turn that around a little bit. I think diversity of thought is a strength. So I think we can look at that a little positively, and I think we need to communicate, as Lori said. And I think we need to listen, and we need to keep the community plan in mind, but I also think we need to consider it somewhat of a living document. And if council, in its collective wisdom, decides it has to adjust, then it can adjust. So there. Thank you.
I will ditto what he talked about in this community plan. And a lot of people put a lot of time into that, and I think it was very well thought out. They did a lot of surveying of residents, business owners, law enforcement, city employees, and I think it is really a great plan. And so I do think as we grow, we need to follow that fairly closely. It is important to have a balance between residential and commercial. Obviously, commercial is vital because it provides the vast majority of the city's income. And so, yes, we definitely want to continue to grow business. But again, people are going to want to move here, so we do need to plan for residential. And I think it's important to have a big bulk of that growth being in the single-family homes. But I also think because of the way housing and costs are today and how difficult it is to buy homes, I think of my children and their future. Are they ever going to be able to live in Canal Winchester? I do think we need to have an intermediate plan, and that would be with condos or townhomes and such. I do not want any high-density apartments, the 3-story type that you see, but some that are more 2-story, no more than 2 bedrooms, equal amount of garages for cars that they have bedrooms. I think that will bring good transient residents here. And that would help our community. And so I'm pretty strong on that aspect of it. We can't stop the growth, but we can control it, we can manage it. And I think it's important for us as a community and a city and a government to do that, as opposed to other communities around us, because if we don't, they'll just encroach and take over, and then we will be landlocked. As far as diversity or disagreements, they're always going to be there. But what I found over the last couple of years as I listened to the council meetings online, attended them in person for the last several months, is getting the information. For me personally, I pursued it. Now not everyone's going to take that time, so we need to, as a government and as council members, pursue the people and inform them. Council Connect is great. I've attended that, and it's very enjoyable. It's just a conversation. It's not so structured and stuck up. I don't know. I guess stuck up would be a bad term for a city council meeting. But it is a great way to learn. I definitely say social media is not a great way to learn what's going on. So communicating, listening from a council member perspective is vital. But as a resident, listen and pursue and seek out what's really going on here.
So unequivocally, there is a housing crisis happening in Central Ohio, and we will feel that impact no matter what. As a council member, I think it's really important that we will listen to residents and listen to views on both sides of the pro-growth, anti-growth issue. I will, in listening to residents, I will be a uniter on this challenging topic and try to find the common threads. I agree with what James was saying, that diversity of thought is a good thing, and I think the best way to solve problems is to hear from all different perspectives and find the common ground. Going with our small town feel, we have a very unique historic downtown, and it is really important to protect that uniqueness. One of the developments that has happened that really has helped thread the needle of bringing in new economic development and maintaining that feel is the Winchester Farm Exchange. And I plan to continue preserving that history with progress by also reassessing all of our sidewalks and our trails. I think we can connect our whole community and make it walkable. I also want to reassess all of our safety lighting and our street lighting to make sure that people feel safe at all times of night. When it comes to development, again, it is really important to weigh residents' concern, especially with overcrowding and just preserving what makes our town special. An area of opportunity to address concerns is just having more transparency in those conversations about rezoning. I will make myself more accessible for maybe one-on-one meetings with constituents and residents, because some people don't want to speak publicly and are uncomfortable public speaking at a council meeting. But it's important that council overall shows scrutiny when we have these new developments coming in, and we need to do our homework and make sure that whatever project is coming in, we know how it affects the schools, we know how it will affect current residents, and we know what the impact will be economically. So this is fundamentally a challenge that Canal Winchester is going to have to face down the line and for the next several decades. So we just need to make sure that we are staying competitive with our neighboring communities, because all of Central Ohio is dealing with this housing crisis, is dealing with this population growth, and we don't want to be left behind.
There is a lot of pressure to grow, especially from Columbus. There is a housing shortage. I think growth is inevitable in Canal Winchester. What I want to see is it done responsibly. I want to make sure that infrastructure can keep up. We already have traffic issues in a lot of areas, and we need to take a look at that and make sure that it doesn't continue to get worse as we continue to grow. Public safety is huge to our residents. It's been one of the biggest topics when I've gone door to door and talked with folks. And as we grow, we need to make sure that our public safety is able to grow as well with us, and that we're not falling behind. Another big thing that I think of is our school capacities. I know one of the questions coming up is about property taxes, and that's how our schools get funded. And I don't want us to reach a point where our schools are about to meet capacity and we may have to build a different school. And what does that look like for our residents as far as, how are we going to pay for those schools? I think we pay enough in taxes already. I think downtown Canal Winchester is fantastic, and we need to maintain that. As far as walkability, residents want better walkability so we can get around our city safely. Crosswalks are a big concern for residents as far as safety. Especially down Waterloo, there's been multiple residents that I've talked to where they've almost been hit by cars, and I think that we can utilize technology and increase the safety of our residents with those crosswalks. I do believe we need to follow the 2023 community plan. It's the blueprint for our city and how it looks in the future. And if you haven't read that yet, I encourage you to do so. There's tons of information there. It does lay out what Canal Winchester can look like as far as annexation around the borders of Canal Winchester, increased industrial, commercial, entertainment, retail. All those businesses are good for our city because we can collect those income taxes and use those for infrastructure projects. That's all I have. Thank you.
This is quite a change from the last time I did this 4 years ago. Some of us may remember there was a lot of controversy about industrial development at that particular time coming into our community, and it was a pretty hot button issue. And I think the resolution that council and the city government came up with was to do a comprehensive community plan. And they spent 14 months on it. Mrs. Amick and I were both on the steering committee that helped select the company that put that comprehensive plan together. And then when it came before council, we approved it. I look at that comprehensive plan as a contract with our residents. Quite simply, we said, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to follow it. And that is how I'm guiding my economic development decisions, because in my mind, we sort of settled that issue once and for all, because we sat down and we all agreed that this is how we're going to grow, this is how we're going to plan our future, and we need to stick to it. And that's my intent, is to continue to honor that community plan, because a lot of time, resources, and input from various stakeholders went into it. And I think it's critical that we continue to honor that commitment to our residents. That being said, let's talk about economic development. 10 years ago, the city of Canal Winchester was bringing in $5.5 million in income tax revenues. Last year, they brought in $12 million in income tax revenue. And what that has allowed the city to do through, and I'm going to back up 1 second. You may be surprised to hear this, but because sometimes I agree with our city staff and our city mayor, but they do a good job. They are some of the best stewards of taxpayer money I've ever seen. Our city, they are. Our city is in incredible financial shape right now. Last year, 20% of our general fund budget was a one-time expense that we paid cash for because we had the excess money available to do that, which means we're not on the hook for long-term bonds or obligations, which could come back and bite us later on when the city runs short on cash and we have to cut services. Because of the leadership of our city staff, and Matt Peoples, who is now our city administrator, has a nickname of Matt Cheaples sometimes, we are in an incredibly good financial position. Regarding division, even through all of the conflict that arose during some of those developments, there was not a person that I was not willing to sit down and have a conversation with. Polar opposites, and there are folks that have told me they will support me because I'm willing to have that conversation, and I'm willing to come to it with a place of intellect and heart and look out for what's best for our city. We're not always going to agree on everything, but the least we can do is listen to one another and support one another in this community. Thank you.
I'll take that. Sorry. So I've had the privilege of going first and last now, so this is difficult on both ends. I'll just, echo what everybody else has really said, and no really disagreement for me here. Most of the legwork has already been done, right? We have the community development plan. Having been on council previously, I'm intimately familiar with that, and I want to stick to that. I want to follow that. On a more specific level, we talk about the wanting to have preserving the small town feel with regards back to the question. For me, I hear a lot of folks talk about the small businesses that they enjoy, the walkability, right? We talk about the walkability. We've got the two newest buildings in our downtown with still vacant space. I want that space full. I want to see more small businesses in our downtown thriving. As far as the differences of opinion or division, or however you want to say it, I've lived it, right? So I served on council for a term already, and I was in the thick of the warehouse discussion. I heard it from both sides. I'm the kind of person that I want to sit back and listen, and I'm the last person to speak usually. I want to hear what everybody has to say, and then I'll throw my 2 cents in if I feel like it's necessary. I sat in Jill Amos's home with a bunch of people that disagreed with me. So I've lived it. I hear everybody, what they have to say about both sides, but ultimately, I have to take that information and make the best decision. So yeah, I've lived it is what I'm trying to say.
All right, thank you all. And we are going to move down to the third candidate. I do believe it's James, who tried to hold on to that microphone a little extra. That's all right, it's going to be your turn. So we are going back to 2 minutes per candidate. Question number 4, there is a movement in Ohio to abolish property taxes. Question is, if this happens, what steps would you support to replace that revenue and ensure our community still has the critical services?
Yeah, so great question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I keep pushing the button.
Hello. So great question here to go first on for me, because this actually was an issue that I had in mind when I thought about running and what I might have to offer to the community here. So whether you agree with what's happening with property taxes or not, I think change is absolutely coming. I think it could be very abrupt, and it's going to be entirely out of control of local governments. So we need to be ready. But not just in terms of revenue. I think that was one of the ways this question was formed, is how would you replace that revenue? Well, that's only part of it. You know, I think we're going to also have to take a hard look at expenditures. And you know, we're going to have to, if this does happen, and if it does happen in the way I think it might, we're going to have to be ready to prioritize services and potentially make some hard choices. So, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to audit tax abatements, things of that nature. I think we're also going to have to, well, look at those and make sure that they are benefiting citizens and not just the developers. So as COO in my day job, so I'm deeply involved in budgets. And I can tell you Mr. Cheaples is a man of my own heart here. So the CFO reports to me actually at this job, and we work daily to look at how we can cut expenses. And we've cut millions since 2020, and I mean on an annual basis. And while revenues have continued to increase, and it can be done. And I think there are things that we can do as a community if that comes to pass. So we'll see.
So Canal Winchester is very fortunate that property taxes are a very small amount dollar-wise, and even percent-wise, it's very, very small. So if we lost those dollars, we really would not have to cut any priority or how's the question worded, critical services. For the most part, the city will just run as it always has been. What we may have to lose would be maybe the new items that everyone's dreaming or wanting to come. So maybe we have to lose an extra ball field out at the park. But I think over a period of a few years, revenue will be making up with the new residential and new businesses coming. So I don't think we as a city will feel much of a hiccup with that loss. I think we will feel it though as a city with our residents, because the school district is where the pain is going to be. We can't do a lot with that. We can ask developers to participate maybe a little bit more, maybe help with limiting the abatements. But I think actually as residents, we need to work with our state representatives to say, hey, listen, yes, 20 years ago the Supreme Court did rule it illegal on how they were funding schools, but that doesn't mean that we can gut them financially and not have a negative impact to our children and our future. So work with as a collective unit, we need to work with our representatives and say, let's look at this and let's do it the right way.
So I feel like a lot of our answers are going to sound similar, but just some background. The way that Ohio collects property taxes is determined by the Ohio legislature as of right now. And it's unfortunate that the political status quo within the state legislature has yet to find a solution for our property tax problem. Everyone is feeling a pinch right now, especially after the new property reassessments that came out from the county auditors. And it's our seniors who are on a fixed income who are actually being hit the most and really need a solution soon. There are a few economic tools that the city government could use to try and recover some lost revenue, but to echo what everyone is saying, it would not, it is really not in our hands. One of the ways is to set up a new community authority for those new developments. There are some community development charges you can use either to get some income from the value of the parcels, the income of those residents who are moving in there, or any profit from new businesses that pop up there. But to echo what Shane was saying, I think really the role with City Council would be to help connect with our residents with the state legislature. I would use my public service experience to help those residents who are hurting the most to find resources in the community to help them pay those property taxes. And then to amplify their stories and have some real data from residents on how property taxes are hurting them to try to find a sustainable solution. Again, there are definitely some changes that are on the horizon, but I think the responsible way would be to talk with legislature about solutions that can happen right now to help people.
We really started to see our property taxes rise about 5 years ago when the values of homes were rising and there was such a shortage of homes. And talking with residents, I have met a bunch in our community who are worried about losing their homes because they are on a fixed income and they're afraid to get behind on their taxes. And that's really, I believe, the main point of the abolishing property tax movement is it prevents people from losing their homes if they fall behind on their taxes. One of the solutions that I've seen is that we'll raise taxes in other areas, income tax or sales tax. I do not believe in that. I feel that all we're doing is moving taxes to a different area where we're either going to be taking less home with our paychecks or we're going to be paying more for goods. I saw a study that said, currently right now with Ohio and Canal Winchester income tax combined, we're at about 4.75%. If we were to do that option, in Franklin County, we would be at 13.28% for income tax, and Fairfield County would jump up to 13.34%. To me, that's not an option. I want people to take as much money home from their paychecks and they're working for those hard-earned dollars. I think there's definite reform that needs to be done in our state legislature. There was a bill that was passed a couple of days ago in the House. It's looking to cut taxes by $1.7 billion over the next 3 years for homeowners. It's a start. There needs to be more that's done. And I think we need to be fiscally responsible as well, not just at local government, but at our state government. We need to look at where we're spending our money. If there's wasteful spending, then we need to cut that spending and we need to give those tax dollars back to our communities. Thank you.
I don't like property taxes. I pay a lot in them, and they're expensive. And sometimes I don't know that I feel like I get the value for my money for property taxes. So I absolutely understand why people want to abolish property taxes. But I really do like it if I call 911 and the ambulance shows up because I'm having chest pain. I like it when I call the sheriff's office and I say, hey, there's somebody doing something funny out here on the street, can you come check it out? And they're there quickly and resolving the situation. My own daughter has had the sheriff called on her for sitting in a vehicle in front of a house on our street because somebody didn't recognize the car. I thought it was really funny. She didn't. As far as property taxes go, in relation to our city government, we only have 2 mills of property taxes for the city. And for comparison purposes, just so you know, we as residents of Canal Winchester and Franklin County pay more taxes to the library, Madison Township, the school district. There's some other levies for the county that keep going on and on. I looked at my bill the other day. The city does not have a huge property tax burden. It's actually been a topic of discussion when it comes to budgets. We are a city that lives off of income tax, which is why economic development is so important here. The income tax funds the growth of our city services. I know that next week we're getting ready to, on council, approve, I think, $3.5 million of money that we already have in the bank. We're not going to have to borrow to build the next phase of McGill Park. So we can get that extra ball field that'll have 90-foot bases, because I know that's a big thing. As far as taxation goes, I'm self-employed, and when you don't have enough revenue, you got to make cuts. I think that our government agencies all across the spectrum need to look at where they can cut to keep their budgets healthy. And I think that starts at the township, and there's people running for trustee here. It starts at the school board. I'll do some push-ups. And it starts with your state senate and your state legislature. Thank you very much.
That was 3 extra, but not covered.
Thanking them.
I've been in communication with our finance director, Amanda Jackson, and I think previous candidates had mentioned this already. You know, the property taxes only account for about 4% of our budget. To put my own spin on this, I hate using that word, but it is what I would, as I mentioned previously, expanding the small growth or the small business growth in the downtown, but not just that, the growth that we're anticipating, I think could very easily offset any cut to property taxes that we get. Again, Ms. Jackson is award-winning. She's phenomenal. She's really good at what she does. We have a very, very healthy balance sheet in the city. And yeah, change is coming, and I think we're very well prepared for it. I don't like to get into, you know, the weeds of things that I can't control. You know, we can only control the things that we can control. But I think it was Hannah that mentioned, you know, working with state representatives and other elected officials that can work with us to make things happen. I have a very great relationship with State Senator Michelle Reynolds. I have no issues working with her on such things. I think Ms. Amick also has that relationship. So I'm not worried about this. I think we can overcome this. I look at things with a positive attitude. I'm not scared by it. We'll take it on, and we'll be fine.
So this is what I consider to be one of the most difficult topics that our state is faced with at the moment. And there are no easy answers. As a matter of fact, I attended a webinar. I've attended several. And I've talked with legislators from Ohio, and they are looking at residents for input. But I will tell you that the Joint Commission for Property Tax Reform in September put out 21 recommendations, mainly centered around property tax reform, all centered around property tax reform. And I would encourage you to take a look at that, look through that, find out which ones you agree with, which ones you don't, and then contact the appropriate people in the legislature to share your thoughts with them. I agree with everyone about the city taxes are super low, and to make this really clear and in perspective, my own personal property taxes, and my husband's, they're $6,200 a year and some change. $196 of my property tax bill goes to the city of Canal Winchester. That's a small price to pay for the beautiful city that we have. So where I think the no property tax could be absolutely devastating is when it comes to our school system. And so the schools need our support. It's good for our property values, it's good for our workforce in the future, and it's just plain a good thing to do is to invest in our schools. So when I think about what City Council can do, I look at ways that we can support the schools should this happen, even more so support them. And that would be, you've heard me talk a lot tonight about economic development and how we always try to work hard to make the schools get something in there for them, make them whole to the best of our ability. Also, on the flip side of the property tax debate is about the housing shortage. And you've heard people, thank you, you've heard people speak to it. CJ, I'm going to do some push-ups for you. But I also wanted to talk about new residential development and how that will ultimately assist in reducing the tax burden for others. When more people are sharing the burden and the housing supply starts to go away, the valuation of our homes will change. And hopefully that will provide some tax relief for everyone. Thank you.
Looks like about 15 there, Lauren.
Oh, man.
You don't have to do this now. We'll get them before the next summer.
I think I've gone under enough.
Okay. Chuck's going to do mine and James. Now? Uh-oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Well done.
Thank you, James.
All right.
Thank you. I'm impressed.
It's your fault. You said I had a
That's working for the vote right there.
Okay, so we're ready for the next question. Question 5. This is 2 minutes per candidate. There are several charter amendments proposed this year. These include adjusting the salaries for the mayor and for city council. Question is, do you support these amendments? Why or why not? And if not, specify which ones you oppose.
I think like the community plan, the Charter Review Commission did a great job of getting input, having great meetings, and evaluating where our community is and what other communities of similar size, how they approach their charter. And I think they put together a great proposal of changes. I have no issue with any of them whatsoever. Outside of the punctuation and the technical pieces, I don't have an issue with paying specifically the mayor position more than is being paid now. It's going from around $40,000 to about $70,000 a year. I think that the old saying, you get what you pay for, is apropos in this case. If we want the best mayor out there, I think we need to compensate them accordingly. You know, I think it's $734 a month for this council seat. It's not a lot. I don't see it as outrageous myself personally. As far as having a plan for when the mayor, if the mayor has to set aside for a period of time or permanently, obviously it would be wise on our behalf to have a plan on how that's going to look. And then similar to the federal government, the mayor has at his discretion someone that works for him, Mr. Peoples, and I think it's okay that we would need to, as a council, be able to approve the termination and or hiring of that position. So I support every one of them.
So I support the amendments, and I think it's really important for voters to take a look at them on the Canal Winchester website, read them, because they're the people who will have the final approval of whether these changes go into effect. And I will say that the new amendments, I made my decision to run before any of the changes came out, before the commission met. And I say that because the mayor actually made a really good argument during the Charter Commission, and he talked about how important it is to make sure that we are properly paying public servants and elected officials. Public service should never be about the money, but for some people it is a determining factor. So let's say you're a single parent, or you're a senior on a fixed income, or you're just a young person just starting out. That extra money could be used for a babysitter or for transportation costs or any hours of work that you're missing. So it's really important that people are properly compensated. And I think the raise that is given to elected officials in the charter amendments will open up a whole new pool of opportunity for leadership in our city. Not everyone can fund their own campaign. Not everyone can donate a salary or just refuse to take it. And this just gives more opportunity for leadership and for more people to get involved in our community. So again, I encourage voters, read through the amendments. You will have the final say, but I support them, and I'm excited to see who gets to be more involved now because we make these changes.
I do support the majority of the amendments. I would say the one that I do oppose is the pay increases for city council. I'm not on city council now. I would never vote for my own pay increase, especially when we're having the conversations about that there could be an abolishment of property taxes, and what are we going to do as far as funding our schools and our public services. And I would rather see that money go back to the community and to our residents. So, thank you.
I think it's very important to remember that all of the charter recommendations come from an independent group of citizens that volunteered and agreed to give their time at no compensation to suggest these changes. They met repeatedly and discussed various items, and the one thing that they came up with was council needs to give themselves a raise and the mayor needs a raise. Council, I've been asked twice on my council tenure in 4 years to vote for my own raise, and I won't do it because it's not my money. It's the residents' money. It's taxpayers' money. I'm not asking for more. Now, this independent group of residents that served as our charter commission made the determination that they felt we were worth more money, and it's not a lot, I think it's $1,100 a year, and they also felt that the mayor was worth more money. Council originally set the mayor's salary, and the way it ended up at $40,000 was we were being asked as council to fund a city administrator's position that we thought was going to be the day-to-day mayor. And as things changed and elections changed and we got a new mayor, we still have a city administrator, but right now we've kind of handicapped our existing mayor because he has to still pay his bills and put food on his table. And by giving him a salary of $40,000, we've made it so that he needs to have another job in order to keep up what he's doing in his life. And I think that is something that we should consider. It's not up to me to tell you how to vote on the charter amendments. That's each individual's voter decision, and that is the whole point of the Charter Commission and then council putting it on the ballot is for you as the voters to make your choice, because we live in a society where we have free and fair elections and everybody gets their choice. Thank you.
Okay, so I had the unique opportunity to chair the Charter Review Commission. Having served on council previously, been on that side of it, and now been on this side of it, seeing both perspectives has been great. Hat tip to Hannah. She was talking about things that didn't even come up when we were talking about these things in the Charter Review, so kudos there. I agree with pretty much everything. I like the fact that the mayor's salary is tied to a percentage of the council's salary. And I think this kind of just harkens back to what I was saying previously about being open-minded and listening to folks. Honestly, when we were having these meetings talking about council salaries, I would do this for free. I had a blast in my 4 years, even though it was hectic at times. I loved it. I love giving back. But that ultimately was not what the Charter Review wanted. They wanted to see council paid more. So I, cast my own feelings aside and say, this is the will of the commission, then I wholeheartedly support it. And that's where I stand.
Thank you. I want to first of all thank the Canal Winchester Charter Commission for taking on this very important task. Our charter gets reviewed every 5 years, and I want to thank Mr. Milliken for chairing that commission this year. Regarding the mayor's salary, I agree with everything that everybody said, but I also want to point out that the mayor position serves as our chief executive officer. And so whether that person works 2 hours or 70 hours is almost, I don't want to say it's irrelevant because it is important, but it is the fact that the Charter Commission did not make any recommendations to change our form of government or to change the responsibility that the mayor of our city has to oversee. So I absolutely support an increase and a stabilization for the mayor's salary. As far as council goes, it's like, okay, wow, this is awkward. I got all these people staring at me and I'm asking you for a raise. But I want to just tell you that I did support the increase for council salaries. Council has not had a salary increase in 12 years. Now, I want to say that I've talked with all of my peers on the existing council. Not one of us does it because of the salary. That is not why we serve. We serve because we all love and care about the city. What you see every other Monday night is a 2-hour council meeting, but I can assure you that we all work extra hard behind the scenes. We serve on committees that are established through our organizational meeting every year. We go to Council Connect meetings. We meet with residents one-on-one. We talk with city leaders. We spend an awful lot of time working for you. So the only recommendation that was put forward that I did not support was the planning and zoning and having a member of city council on that commission. These people are talented, they're smart, they know what they're doing, and a city council member on that commission would be undue influence.
So two qualities I lack that make me a really bad politician are not very good at self-promotion, and I hate to take other people's money. So, you know, when it came to running for this, you know, I told my wife Susie that if you guys would hire me, I would find something else to do with whatever income is related to do with that, and donate it to local 501c3s or whatever. That said, you know, I don't begrudge pay for council, obviously. I mean, these guys work very hard. I mean, just looking at the, you know, hearing what you've heard tonight and seeing what goes into everything they do, you can't deny it, you know. So while fundamentally I do support the amendments, I believe that leadership without conviction is not leadership. I believe it's participation, and I'm not doing this for a participation trophy, so I would not vote, and I don't tend to vote for anything that would potentially increase my own salary, but that said, I don't hold against anybody else who does.
All right. Thank you all, and thank you everyone for just being here, being present and listening. So, shorter question. This gives all of our candidates a time to take a sip of water if we need it. But shorter question: Will you accept an endorsement from a political party for this position? Please raise your hand if the answer is yes. All right. Thank you. And we are moving on.
Question 7. 2 minutes per candidate. Recent media reports show that the flock cameras recently approved by the CW Council for automated license plate recognition also collect detailed information, including vehicle make, model, color, and in some cases even images of occupants, going far beyond just license plates. The question is, do you support the surveillance of law-abiding citizens through these systems? Additionally, do you support sharing this data with federal agencies?
I think we all know we're already under what feels like constant surveillance in every facet of our life, and there are very legitimate concerns about who is collecting our personal data and where that personal data is being stored and if it's being stored securely. Last year, the city of Columbus had a cyber attack, and a lot of personal data was stolen from the city because they didn't have proper safeguards. So I think it is really important for Canal-Winchester City Council to have a firm handle on all of the personal data that it handles and what it does, who is processing this information, and who has access to it. Given that the Fairfield County Sheriffs are our law enforcement, we don't have direct control over what information they are given. Especially when it comes to just coordinating with federal agencies like ICE. Over in Knox County recently, it was reported that ICE contacted their county sheriffs and let them know that they were coming to Mount Vernon, but asked those county sheriffs not to share that information with city officials and the city police department. So there was a gap between the city leadership knowing what was about to happen. And I think in general, we have seen a lot of chaos in our communities with this information being shared with ICE. And I don't think any of us anticipated that they would be operating in the way that they were. So we just need to make sure that whatever data we have is just being stored securely and that the residents know what we are doing with that.
I do not support mass surveillance of law-abiding citizens. However, I do believe that our flock cameras are being used correctly. And I've talked to Sergeant Strawn, other members of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Department, and they were able to explain the system and the process and how it's a great tool for our officers that keep us safe every single day. So Ohio is a back license plate state, and so these cameras are entry and exit ways of Canal Winchester and down Route 33. And what it'll do is it'll take a picture of the license plate. It is not a live stream of cars that are going up and down the roads. And if it does flag a license plate that has been associated with an Amber Alert or a kidnapping or a stolen vehicle, what it'll do is it'll contact the police station and they can dispatch officers out there so they can get these folks apprehended within our city. So far it's had great results. Sergeant Strong shared that we were able to apprehend an individual off Route 33. They were from Michigan originally. They kidnapped their girlfriend and they were taking her down to Florida. The flock camera took a picture of that license plate, alerted officers, and they were able to rescue her. And I think that is extremely important. Just this week, there was a car that was stolen from Canal Winchester, and they were able to recover that vehicle in Hilliard. We're not the only city that has flock cameras. Everyone around us, Whitehall, Reynoldsburg, Hilliard, OSU campus, they all have flock cameras as well. And so if something were to happen, our car were to be stolen and that vehicle were to be taken to a different city, it aids officers in retrieving that vehicle and getting it back. Like I said, I don't believe in mass surveillance, and if that were ever the case, or we found out that the flock cameras were being used for that purpose, then we would have to hold folks accountable, but I believe they're being used correctly. Thank you.
Since I've been here for 20-something years, we've seen a lot of growth. I remember when Waterloo dead-ended into Gender Road, and then Ames was across the street before they tore it down and built the Home Depot. There are some of you in this room that remember when they plowed under the cornfield to build the Kroger that sits on Gender Road right now. We've seen a lot of growth over the last 30 years. And one of the challenges is we've had a lot of growth from adjacent cities that don't provide proper levels of policing and city services to their own residents. I'm talking about you, Columbus. And what the flock cameras allow us to do is monitor for vehicles that are flagged. And whether they be flagged for a stolen vehicle, a missing child, a felony warrant that's tied to that person's name and then to their registration, they allow our sheriff's department to go out and solve crimes and also to stop crimes. If some kids come down here joyriding in a stolen car and it hits on the flock cameras, our night shift deputies go in and start looking for them before they can come in and steal another car or break into cars and steal things. Because that's where a lot of our break-ins are coming from. There are people that are stealing cars out of Columbus, joyriding down into Canal Winchester, and if they hit on those cameras, our deputies who work really hard to keep our city safe can go out and apprehend them before they cause problems. Do I think it's an invasion of privacy? Yeah, I do. I mean, unfortunately though, we live in a society now where there is a camera everywhere you go. I've been out door knocking, and half the houses I've knocked on the door, there's a camera there, and it's recording me as I come up to their steps. I have one friend who's been helping me canvass. He's been saying, go Bucks, go Bengals, go Browns, whatever the flavor of the day is for that particular gentleman. But we have cameras everywhere we go.
Gentle warning.
Oh, thank you. trying not to do anymore.
I don't need those gentle warnings. I'm a pretty direct, concise person, unfortunately. So,
What are you saying, Chuck?
sorry. Great. I mean, you guys are doing great up here. I wish I had the ability to elaborate as well as you guys do, but I just don't. Just to provide that level of vulnerability with you guys. But no, David, you did an absolutely fantastic job explaining the ins and outs of this. The libertarian side of me, this does not make me feel warm and fuzzy whatsoever, but I'm also a realist. These cameras, honestly, it's no different than if the sheriffs are just riding right behind you as you're driving down the road, right? They're, like it's mentioned in the question, you get in the license plate, you're getting the make and model, all that stuff. Again, do I love it? No, but like Patrick said, this is the world we live in. We've all paid for these expensive devices that we all have in our pocket. If I didn't own a cat, but I say cat 50 times, I'm gonna get all kinds of cat videos show up on my phone. People are listening whether we like it or not. I definitely don't like it. Thank you.
Thank you. I absolutely value my privacy. I also value my and your safety. And I also believe in justice for criminals or for justice for victims of crimes. So here's the, and I'm going to echo the sentiment about we're always being filmed, we're always being put through facial recognition. If you go to a sporting event or a concert at a larger venue, I guarantee you your picture has been taken. If you shop in a department store, a larger department store, I guarantee you your picture has been taken. I don't like it, but privacy, as Mr. Milliken said, privacy is sort of becoming a thing of the past. I want to say thank you to the Fairfield County Sheriff's Department, particularly Sergeant Strawn and his team. They do a great job of keeping us safe. And you've heard about the use cases that are benefited by securing criminals with the flock cameras. You've heard about the car thefts. You've heard about the kidnappings. But, and those are all true, and we hear about those all the time at our council meetings. But what I want to also kind of highlight is one of the very positive things that a flock camera can do. If we have a patient or a person that has Alzheimer's or dementia, and they get out on the road and they wander off and they don't know where they're at, I'm sure their family would like to know that there's a flock camera that can help track them down. So again, a very positive use case for the use of flock cameras. If you're a law-abiding citizen, don't worry, you should be fine. If you are not a law-abiding citizen, watch out because the flock camera is going to get you. Thank you.
So I'm going to echo a lot of what other folks have said. You know, I think David did a really good job explaining what flock cameras are used for, Pat as well. You guys, thank you. You know, the premise of this question seemed to imply that these data were being mined or used in some way to do some type of law enforcement phishing exercise on the public, and that, you know, I think we know that simply is not the case. You know, I think flock cameras are a very useful tool, and I think considering that the community has told us in that survey that helped inform the community plan that community safety and security is by far the #1 top concern, that we have to take that very seriously, and we need to give law enforcement at all levels access to the tools that we can provide.
You know, after 9/11, I think we all saw and felt the abuse of privacy at the federal level, and so that is definitely a concern of mine. Like my running opponent, I did talk to the Sheriff's Department, and it is limited on what they gather, keep, and so forth. I hope we can keep it there. I think we need to monitor that so that it's not nefarious in how it's being used. We were a whole in the surrounding communities. Pickerington had it, Lithopolis, Groveport, Columbus. And so filling that hole will help all of us as a group, all of our communities, which is important. I just think we need to keep an eye on it, keep monitoring it, so that it doesn't get used in a bad way. It is also public, yeah. So yeah, keep it out of my house windows, keep it off my phone, out of my computer. That's definitely very private, but a public road, just like a public department store or a public restaurant, we are being seen all the time. So I don't feel as negative towards it at this point. And yes, if we're capturing alleged criminals, I do not have a problem sharing that with other law enforcement, whether it's someone local around us, state level, or even federal.
All right, and in the matter of timeliness, we're going to dive right into our last question. So 1 to 2 minutes per candidate. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing Canal Winchester in the next 5 to 10 years, and how would you handle that challenge?
I think the biggest challenge that we're facing as a city is the growth. It is the number one thing that's been brought up from residents when I chat with them, when I'm knocking on doors. And like I said before, growth is inevitable. We just need to make sure that it's done responsibly. We need to make sure that our public safety can grow as our residential areas are growing. And we need to follow the community plan. It's the blueprint for our city, and we need to make sure that that blueprint is followed. That we do review that every 5 to 10 years, but we need to make sure that that's what we're following, and that our infrastructure and our public safety can keep up with that growth. Thank you.
Growth, again, I'm going to reiterate, but I really see it coming from 2 angles. One is the Androl project that's going on the south end of Rickenbacker, because they're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 jobs with an average salary of $62 an hour. That is going to drive a huge demand for people with places to live with a lot of disposable income. And Canal Winchester is sitting in the catbird seat. We are, point blank, the nicest community on this side of Franklin County. This is a place that people want to live as a result of the stewardship that the city and the council and mayors past have done to keep our city nice. The second part of growth that scares me also is the growth that's coming from Columbus. The amount of high-density apartments that they are building up there and are permitted and ready to go right now, I think is 4,500 units coming. So if you get 2 persons to a unit, that is 9,000 more folks. Well, Columbus is not adding any commercial up there. There's no more grocery stores. There's no shopping centers. There's no police services. That is going to put a drain on our resources. Already, Madison Township, who's our fire department, does mutual aid to Columbus on a pretty regular basis due to that density. That's one thing that really concerns me, is are we going to strain our fire system as Columbus doesn't add any fire equipment apparatus capacity up there, and we already are tight here with what we're doing at Madison Township. They're a very busy fire department. And the other thing is they're all going to come here and they're all going to shop here. We've got 3 grocery stores that are right here on Gender Road between Kroger, Walmart, and Aldi. And there's a lot of traffic that's going to come to them, and we need to be prepared for that. In order to be prepared for that, we need to continue to grow our income tax base so we can continue to hire additional sheriff's deputies and be able to fund them responsibly without having to go into debt to take care of our city and our residents. Thank you.
I think we're all going to probably sit here and talk about growth, but with our own little twist on it. For me, it's a couple of things. First off being infrastructure, right? So we've got all this pressure coming in from Columbus. We've got the 33 widening that's happening. We're going to have to work with, again, like other things, with the township, with the city of Groveport, all these other entities, to make sure that we're working together as communities to accommodate for the growth that's coming. a lot of it is roads, right? And that's all being done. When I was on council previously, we were all pushing hard for the Bixby Road interchange. We've started to get ODOT's attention there, so that's coming. The other issue that I want to touch on about when I was on council previously is the warehouse situation. Yes, that was controversial. We had a lot of pros and cons to those things, but one of the biggest things with North Point project specifically was that it cut us off from Columbus. Huge, right? If Columbus gets that land, they have every right to jump 33 and get right on top of us. Okay, yeah, I don't like warehouse. I'm getting more into the development and stuff, but I don't like warehouses either. But when they make sense strategically, in that case, I'm going to be for it.
So Canal Winchester only has a land mass of 7.4 square miles. That's not a lot of land. And so as we look to our future, you already know how I feel about economic development and its importance to us as a city. But to piggyback on what Mr. Milliken said, I also want to protect our boundaries. We had, and he's absolutely right, we need to protect ourselves from Columbus the best we can. A few years back, we had a property owner who owned property adjacent to Canal Winchester. That property owner, for his own reasons, chose to annex to Columbus. By doing that, Canal Winchester, we had no say in what was developed. We had no say in how it was developed or what it looked like. And we saw no application of any zoning restrictions. So that's what happens when we don't control what's happening around us. So I am an advocate for annexation when and where it makes sense. If a property owner comes to us and says, I want to sell my land and I want to annex it into Canal Winchester, we need to find ways to support that request. Thank you.
So we've all mentioned the community plan several times tonight, and I think for good reason. I think it's a good plan, and I think it also gives us a roadmap on this issue. I think the challenge, I believe, is how this question was worded, the challenge over the next 5 to 10 years. I think it's simply going to be having the conviction and the wherewithal to stick to that plan and to resist pressure from outside forces and internal forces to diverge from it. You know, I think you heard some really good thoughts up here from the current and previous council members on some of the strategies that are involved with development. I agree with all of that. I think it needs to be done to protect this community. And if we don't protect the community in the right way, then we're going to start to see issues rise up on the security front. And that's my largest concern with that. Because that's what the community has told us they're concerned about. So it all comes around to that in my mind. And if we're going to face those challenges correctly, then we need to be strategic in how we do it. And I'm confident that the folks up here at this table will do the right thing, regardless of who you guys vote for.
This question really piggybacks on the second question we had this evening, which was also the one that spent the most time on. And I've also heard that from all the residents talking to me as I'm knocking on doors. And growth is a major concern, and justifiably so. As we've all stated at one point, the community plan is important. We need to protect it and guard it. We may need to get a little more aggressive in how we can approach landowners and how we can potentially annex property around Canal Winchester so that we can continue to have that control over both the residential and the industrial or commercial type of growth.
So we're all in agreement, growth and development, the pressure of the Central Ohio housing crisis is definitely going to be the biggest challenge that Canal Winchester is going to face in the next 5 to 10 years. But it's not going to be the only challenge that Canal Winchester faces. Like some of you in this room, I was in the beer tent during the Blues and Grid Festival this July when Canal Winchester experienced historic flooding and our streets flash flooded within an hour. This is something that we really should be concerned about, is the increasing environmental concerns and disasters that are coming up in the next decade. Experts are expecting a lot of harder storms, higher winds, more rain, and so we need to make sure that our streets can be taken care of, that we don't have flooding like we did this past July, and that we're prepared for whatever other climate issue is on the horizon. And I know that we can work with our city staff. They're experts on how our sewers and our streets run. I think that we can make sure our infrastructure is improved in that way. But going back to growth, I think another challenge that goes with that is just maintaining the sense of community engagement we have here in Canal Winchester. We are a really special place because of the people who live here and how involved everyone is in the well-being of our community. And as we grow, as we face those challenges, we need to make sure that we keep the community engaged. We keep that small town feel of us being there for each other and supporting our events, our amenities, making sure that we have amenities that keep people loving our community. So I think just to add to growth, those are two things we need to keep in mind as well.
Thank you all. This concludes our evening of questions. We have this room until 8:30, so about 30 more minutes, actually 28 more minutes. So please stay and meet your candidates individually. Thank you to our candidates, our neighbors, for being here and for answering questions that matter to our residents and chamber members. And thank you again to our sponsors, Canal Wigwam, our drink sponsors, MG Abbott Electric and Heiberger Paving, and to Brewdog. Have a wonderful night, safe driving.